If you didn't already know, I'm a Celtic fan, and since I was born in the year 2000, I've been lucky enough to see some great players play for Celtic, but I've also been quite unlucky to see some players like Chaduri. But today in this video, I've decided to put together my favourite 11 players to play for Celtic since the year I was born. This isn't by any means the best 11 players to play for Celtic. This is personally my favourite, and I'll give a reason to why every player features in this team. In the future, I might do the 11 worst players I've got to see since I was born, but in this video I'm going to focus on the 11 players who I feel have been my favourite in the team, position by position, since the year I was born. Now, there won't be as many players from the start of my time on earth, you know, from the 2000 to 2005 era of Martin O'Neill. Not as many as you'd maybe expect, mostly because I wasn't old enough to enjoy them playing football, but don't worry, there are a couple in there. But let's get cracking on with this list. They are the 11 of my favourite Celtic players in my lifetime. Also, I believe I've made videos similar to this in the past, or at least mentioned in Q&As, something similar, but I'm making it a video on its own. I've not done this before, I have checked, don't worry, I'm not at the point of repeating old videos. In goals then, I'm starting off with the most plain and obvious player in the team for me. The man who was in without a shadow of a doubt, and personally my favourite Celtic player of all time. In goals, it's the Polish legend himself, Artur Boruc, making 220 appearances for Celtic. Obviously didn't score any goals. I mean, it's pretty hard to as a goalkeeper, but to me he was my idol. He was who I looked up to. He is who I wanted to be. 7-year-old me loved him, and I was devastated when he left the club in 2010. It was a heartbreaking moment, but for me, hands down, had to be in this team. I know a lot of people might prefer the options in such as Fraser Forster, but for me, Artur Boruc was just a better goalkeeper. He was so passionate, and he was just honestly a club legend, I would say. I just really liked him. You know, he was great at winding up the opposition's fans. I mean, just that scene at Ibrox when he ran with the champions flag will always stick in my memory. And for me, Artur Boruc was the first player on the list, not just because of position, the first player on the list to be put in the team. Right, at right back, we're going to put a player who wasn't a right back. He was actually a centre back, but there was no right backs I wanted in, and plus there was 3 centre backs I had to have. So starting this off is Bobo Baldé, big man, absolute terrifying human being. 233 appearances for Celtic, scoring 16 goals, an integral part of Martin O'Neill's squad. The squad, you know, that got to Seville. Granted, Bobo Baldé did get sent off in that final, but I just remember when I was, you know, so little as a child, he was my first ever favourite player. I was obsessed with Bobo Baldé when I was wee. I've still got a photo of me, like, as a baby, basically, with Bobo Baldé. I don't think I was a baby, I think I was like 2. But first ever favourite player for Celtic he was, and he was just an absolute rock of a human being, an animal, an absolute monster, and he was a great player, and honestly want to see more defenders like that at Celtic nowadays. Proven difficult, but Bobo Baldé thought was absolutely terrific and had to get a place in this team. The first centre back then in the team is someone who didn't leave us that long ago and is now the most expensive defender in football history. Virgil van Dijk, who played for us between 2012 and 2014, was it? 2 seasons anyway, played for us, and we all know what it wasn't that long ago. All of us remember Virgil van Dijk that is watching this video. 75 appearances he only got to make for Celtic, but 75 memorable appearances, and honestly was terrific and well deserved. Moved down to the Premier League where he's made a name for himself, scoring 9 goals in that time. He was a great centre back. He was great at busting from the back going forward. He scored some crackers. He was great at carrying the ball. He was great at winning the ball. An all-round one of the best players who we've seen at Celtic in recent times, and he was a real gem in that Neil Lennon side. A great player that was found for us and is now ultimately at bigger things down south, making a big name for himself. A great player though, couldn't leave him out, and honestly there's not been many defenders who's been better than Virgil van Dijk. My second centre half is the one I feel like might surprise people. I'm putting in Stephen McManus. Yes, Stephen McManus. Honestly, loved him. Around that Gordon Strachan era of time, 2009, 2008, I think he was honestly my favourite player in the team. I've always been just a fan of defenders. I think that's because I'm more of a defensive player when I play football. But Stephen McManus, loved him, captained the squad, made 203 appearances, scoring 20 goals, scored some important goals at times, and was a great Scotland international and Celtic player. Just really liked Stephen McManus. There was something about him I think I still have a poster of Steve McManus somewhere. Not up, but I have one. I just loved him. I thought he was a great captain, a great leader, and just overall a great defender, a great player. Have ultimately left us to go to Middlesbrough at the end of his Celtic career. But once again, I think one of the most underrated defenders. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about him and give him as much merit and praise that he deserves for his time at Celtic. I thought he was terrific, and he made 200 appearances for a reason. At left back, I didn't feel there was many options but to have Kieran Tierney in. And that may come down to the whole golden boy sort of feeling towards him. I loved him, Luis Aguirre, and I was honestly tempted to put him in over Tierney, but it's the potential that Tierney has that excites you about Kieran Tierney, and the passion that he has for Celtic as a Celtic fan that really does make you want to put him in. The graphic says 111 appearances, I believe it might be 112 now, with 6 goals. He is smashing it for a guy his age. 20 years old, he's captained his country, he's captained his club, and he's one of the best fullbacks in Britain at the minute. And ultimately he could fit into a team like Manchester United. A fantastic player who it's very rare to see give an awful performance. A lot of times do feel like he doesn't get the criticism he deserves because of the whole golden boy attitude towards him, but he makes up for it with those fantastic and passionate performances, and I had to involve Kieran Tierney in this team. On to the three in the middle then, and we're starting over at the right hand side where I've got Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, I don't need to explain much. As a child growing up, Nakamura was the most exciting player to watch. Free kicks were ace. His football in general was class. He was the man from Japan who was ultimately one of the best players to see put on a Celtic shirt in the last 10 years or so. Terrific player, absolutely terrific, and everyone loved him. He was everyone's favourite back when, you know, I was growing up, and just an absolutely incredible player, a player who I'd kill to see come back and play in his prime at Celtic. Words can't describe how electric he was to watch, how exciting he was. He had flair, he could do it in a big night in the Champions League, he could do it against the smallest of teams as well. A terrific player, and one of the best in recent times for Celtic. The man in the very middle of the park, there is no other option. It has to be Scott Brown. No option. Now 10 years a Celtic player, he's been captain for what, 6 of those years. Just overall fantastic commitment to Celtic, and a player who has revitalised his career over the past 2 years of Brendan Rodgers. And it's not like he was poor before that, you know, he had one poor season, but yet before that he was a brilliant player as well, and he has been the captain for so long now. He's meant so much to Celtic. Without him we look a different side, and really the questions are going to be, what are Celtic going to be like without him when he retires? A player who we don't want to see retire. He plays terrific in the Champions League, a very vital player in all competitions, and he shows some amount of passion. He can be a bit aggressive at points, but that's what you like to see in a player sometimes, and he's one player that brings it in a positive way, I would say. Great at winding up the opposition as well, and a player who I've just adored, especially over the past 2 years. His commitment to Celtic is fantastic, and I didn't feel like there was any other option for that position than Scott Brown. Over on the left hand side then of the midfield, I decided to put Aaron McGeady, a player who I felt like got a lot of criticism towards the end. Well, not I felt like he did get a lot of criticism towards the end of his Celtic career, but a player who was magical. That's a word I would use. A player who, as a child, you look at and, you know, he's the player you want to be if you want to be an attacker. He was making, you know, fantastic performances left, right and centre for Celtic. A player who at the end of his career earned that big money move. The first, you know, Celtic player to leave for, you know, around £10 million. He went to Spartak Moscow, but making about 200 odd appearances for Celtic. He was magic. The McGeady spin and everything. He was a fantastic dribbler, and when he played his absolute best, he was one of the most entertaining players in Britain you could watch, hands down. Very entertaining. I adored him as a young man. Wasn't a young man, a young boy. But Aidan McGeady felt like needed a place in this team. Don't feel like enough people appreciate him. Aidan McGeady makes my team though. Now on to the forwards, which were very difficult. Been lucky to see some fantastic forwards since I've been on this planet for Celtic. There's been the likes of Sutton, Hartson, Larsson, McDonald, Hooper, Stokes, Griffiths, Dembele. Such a wide variety of strikers to choose from. I feel like a lot of people will be surprised with one of the options I went for, and I've went for Scott McDonald. Now, he might have not been as as liked as the likes of Gary Hooper, who was also cutting about when I was, you know, around 12 years old. But Scott McDonald for me was fantastic. I loved him. Skippy, brilliant. I mean, apart from when he cost us the league title when he played for Motherwell, but when he came to Celtic, he was a fantastic goal scorer. I really enjoyed watching him scoring 64 in 128 games, and I just remember loving him. I had to put him in this team, just really personally liked him. A lot of fans did like him as well, but maybe not as much as other options I could have put in here. And he's in there over Sutton and Hartson, for example, because I just got to see Scott McDonald more and appreciate him more. So I've put him in. If you're going by quality, yes, Hartson or Sutton, maybe even the likes of Dembele makes it in over Scott McDonald, maybe even Hooper. But for me, personally, I just have to go with Scott McDonald. I really, really liked him. The central striker. Do I really need to say anything? Henrik Larsson. Now, the argument comes, I didn't get to enjoy him as much as I potentially could/should have, because I was very young. But it's Henrik Larsson. No further words needed. And finally, the last outfield player in this team, and arguably my favourite outfield player on this team, one of them anyway, hands down, Georgios Samaras. I don't care what you say. I know people are instantly commenting right now, fuck off and all the rest of it. Honestly, cannot explain the admiration I had for this guy. Loved him. Thought he was a terrific player. People were commenting on one of my Q&As like 2 weeks ago, saying, come on, he was so frustrating. Yes, he was good sometimes, but the majority of the time he was rotten. I understand he could have a rotten game every now and then, but this guy, honestly, adored him. Absolutely adored him. And he needed a place in this team. He makes it in over some other people, and people are going to be questioning me. I know it. I don't care. I love Georgios Samaras. Love him. And I feel like in Europe he made such a big difference sometimes. I feel it truly deserves much more appreciation from the comments below. So please give it to Georgios because he does deserve it. Anyway guys, that does it for the video. Hope you have enjoyed. If you did enjoy, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Also, it'd be great if we could hit 10k subs by the end of this month. We've not got long to go now in the month and in the sub count. So make sure to share and get any pals who may be interested subbing as well. Let me know your favourite Celtic 11 in your lifetime below, whether you were born in 1950, whether you were born in 2006. I don't care. Let me know the best 11 players you think are your favourite, not the best, your favourite Celtic team since the day you were born. But that about does it, guys. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.